We are back for another episode of Path 7. I've reached another level of enlightenment to where like every season usually will keep me, I guess, discerned from really ascending towards. And it's just one of those things where I guess my own level of distorting myself or blocking myself unconsciously has led myself to believing in, like, I guess, the societal norms and people. By people I mean the earthly family that I have incarnated into, literally stopping me from, not even stopping me, like I've been programmed to let these people think that like I needed to be cool, I needed to be a certain way to be not accepted by people, but to be, I guess, in a space of, how do you say it? A space of not accepted. It's hard to say accepted, but in a space of, I guess, seeing reality from an endless situation instead of like one that is extremely controlled by social norms and everything. So it's interesting to like understand that like we're limitless until we bound ourselves to certain norms or certain ways of existing. And the more we like untether ourselves from these places that are like, they're not places, but there's certain spots within reality that keeps us, I guess, entangled to these norms and these cycles that we're like not unable to see, but unable to break because of, I guess, just not really entrancing ourselves and to tell ourselves that we really deserve this breakthrough that we're looking for. And until you're able to actually like mean it to yourself that like you actually want the growth that you want, you'll always reach a place where you're always searching for somebody else to save you, and the only person that can literally save you is yourself. So it's interesting, to be in spaces of, how can I say it? It's like we're always looking for somebody to save us outside of ourselves. So until we actually reach a space of, okay, this is where I'm at. Society has placed these norms upon me, but it's up to me to displace this level of thinking until I can transcend. So meaning I'm living my life, but I'm allowing somebody else to co-create with me. As in saying, life is something where it's not a two-player game, it's a one-player game, but you can find people that also believe this norm of this is a one-player game, and I'm just like, it's not that we're sharing an experience, but you're living your experience, I'm living my experience. So even when you have kids, you have to always like tell yourself that, I have these kids, but these kids aren't mine. They still belong to the universe, meaning that these kids aren't, they're mine, but they're mine temporarily. They're not mine eternally, or like they're like possessions to me. And that's the biggest misconception we have. We feel like these kids and these beings are ours. They're not. These beings are temporarily ours just so they can teach us how to get back to our God level of self when we were expansive and we weren't taught all these social norms that conditioned us not to dream. And until we get to this space of really like believing that we're able to live these lifestyles that we want and not be haltered by different levels of different entities that exist on certain levels of existence. My interpretation of the fourth dimension is just like an endless plane that, like, anytime you're watching TV and you're watching a manga where it's just like a empty space, like the Matrix, where Neo and Morpheus met that space where it was all white and just nothing but just pure consciousness. That's the fourth dimension, where it's just nothing but endless emotion, or endless energy, and it's timeless. It's a space where you can get lost there because it's something where there's so much just time there. There's, well, endless capabilities that are there that, like, unless you're able to really like digress upon who you are, you're going to, like, I guess, keep engaging in these energies that like are trying to like co-create with you. So if you're like stuck in a space without time, you'll be in a place where you're like trying to find growth in a space where there's nothing but growth. There's nothing. It's like the hyperbolic time chamber, pretty much, for people that watch Dragon Ball Z, to make it the most what do I want to say? The most, to make it tangible, to make it more grounded. Hyperbolic time chamber, and which is nothing but just a space where you train, you know. And as in saying that, it's one of those things where you either find that or it finds you and you get stuck there. So what else I want to say? It's literally about life, and you just teaching yourself like how much you want to like grow upon these spaces and time, like, you know, like the norms that have been programmed upon us, like matching brands and like things that, like, you know, are unspoken rules like that, like what's something like like I guess matching brands, of course, not wearing white after Labor Day, like stupid shit like that, because you wear whatever you want. No one can tell you what to do until it's like, ooh, you broke an unwritten rule. But it's like, at the same time, who wrote that rule for you? Who created that for you, other than like some kind of force that's trying to control you by things that like you shouldn't even care about? You know what I mean? Like, and then even another written rule, like white is purity is dark and black is dark, but it's actually black is purity, because black is the essence of all, where white is devoid of all. So it's something where, like, when you actually study these things, you don't like really allow like human perception to dawn these things upon you and block you from where you're trying to go. You can reach heights that like only like you can reach, because it's only person holding you back is you. The only person who's in control of your reality is you. So it's literally like just tapping in yourself and just allowing yourself to guide you. I mean, unbiasedly, because like right now, this is one of those situations where my solar plexus is kind of just like running over, but like in social norms of like how it'll be perceived in like reality by humans, is just like it feels like you're peeing, but like that's what flight it feels like. Flight is supposed to feel like you're peeing, or like a sense, something that is so different for you to feel, that is like it's literally your body like trying to fight yourself from feeling, what's the norm I'm wanting to say, like from feeling free. You know what I mean? So it's like, until you reach this place of like endless until you reach this place of endless abundance, you're always going to like, there's something always going to tether you back to the body. And I mean, you want to be tethered to the body because that's the solar plexus, like literally like becoming overflowing with energy. But at the same time, you have to have that same level of discernment between, I guess, what's you and what's not you. So for me, what to me is always just being able to, I guess, just tap back in that source and like always find myself back to where I'm supposed to be and not where like reality wants me to be. Because reality is literally endless and abundant, but it's just like, do you allow these shadow beings and these beings that are in these certain dimensions to tether you back to the world with fear? Because that's the only thing that controls us, really, is fear. So it's like, it's literally like once you find your mate in reality, or you mate until you mate with yourself, and like you're like, I'm not really looking for a divine feminine. If you're a man, or a woman, say, I'm not looking for my divine masculine, you're always going to be looking for something outside of yourself. Even like going to the church, people don't go to the church to cut their medium with God, but to become a, like, what you want to do is become a medium for God. So it's like, you don't need the church. The church is just somewhere where if everybody's in there creating a mediumship with God, it's like, then we could channel a higher value, a higher vessel of consciousness. But until we can reach that higher vessel of consciousness, we're just going to church just for like therapy sessions and not really to become our greatest self. So it puts you to a space of like, am I at church to really like atone for my sins, or am I at church to know that I'm a being who is devoid of sin but made in God's image, meaning that I'm made perfect and I'm allowing myself to experience perfection by being a vessel for the highest form of vibration, which is love. So it's really like, do I allow like humans to dictate my experience for me, or do I create my experience for myself? And that's all life really is. It's like, am I co-creating with myself? Am I co-creating for myself? Or is somebody literally like co-creating for me? And until you reach that space of like, because it's beautiful. Like everywhere I go, I'm seeing everything in twos. Like I used to see everything as one, and everything's like, I'm seeing, like, I'm in a park right now. I just saw 2 birds, 2 squirrels, and everything is just being like worked back together. Like everything is going back to its divine source code. And as it's saying that, it's a beautiful thing to see. Like things aren't really fighting each other anymore. Everything is like working harmoniously. Everything's in a perfect place of expansion. Like I said, until people like literally like, I'm not saying you have to work that hard, but just like understand that if you're going to do something, do it right. You know, like don't do things with the intention of just getting paid. Do things with the intention of, this is my service. This is what, I offer to the world. So why not do that at its greatest of it? Why not do it with honesty and just like from a perspective of just knowing that there's always more to life, rather than, I guess, avoiding reality's perspective of just constant growth and constant elevation. Because at the end of the day, like I don't work with cops, but like I understand like law enforcement, like, and the glamour upon it that makes us like as a stigma of fear from it. And it's like, damn, well, are we a fear of cops, or we're a fear of the programming that comes from the cop car and the karma that is still upon us? So it's really interesting once you get back to like a stance of just knowing that everything's literally yours. There's nothing outside of self but self. And like once you get back to that level of consciousness, you can really like fly upon things and not be haltered upon the things that like we like have like for some reason we've come up with so many rules that stop us from really being our true self. And until we reach that place of like being honest with ourselves and not really like blocking ourselves, you always reach a space of like, you'll reach a space of just knowing that, you are great, but you're still waiting for somebody or something to like reach you at a certain space of like, I guess, perfection or something. So reality is a thing, man. It's such a thing of is fear. And it's so much fear because like humans are fearful beings. So as in saying that, it's just like the more that I like actually pay attention to these humans, it's like, damn, y'all are gonna be stuck here for a while, and y'all like literally aren't gonna like find your purpose. And you're already, everything that they're trying to do is just condition like the stars to play by rules that like we're literally here to break. So until we find the beings that actually are here to, I guess, help us break these norms and break these societal spaces where, I guess, because it's just funny, man, because it's just, it's like, damn, like no one actually knows the true purpose of where we're supposed to be going. But it's like it's a sad thing where you pay attention to like things that don't really matter, and it's just kids. It's just like once you reach the point of like you have so many kids, it's just be like, damn, well, everybody who's older on the planet isn't really older. They're just a whole bunch of kids that like, a whole bunch of like beings that never grow past there's a certain level of perception. And it's like they're just like calling for their father to pay them attention. It's just like, I really don't have to pay you attention. You're really my child, and you're not going to grow. And it's such a hard thing to get to that spot of like, it's just a constant programming and conditioning that just keep coming back more and more and more. And it's just like, it's a sad thing. Cause like it's just like a tethering always. It's just like people trying to tether you to their like level of perspective, and it's just like, good kid, like you do know you have no power, right? Like, you know what I mean? And it's always it's just like humans and their limited level of perception, like always wanting you to like fill into their norms and things like it. It's just like, I feel for you, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't matter. It's just like every time you free yourself from any kind of societal situation, these same beings want you to like fill their angst and the things that cause them these problems of, like anytime you truly reach a space of like endless void or endless space, it's like these beings come back more and more and more just to like to seek power from you, just knowing that they have no power. It's funny, man, but on the out, keep ascending, keep reaching these heights that are like untangible for these small level, these beings of limited consciousness, and just kind of just keep growing, man. That's all it's about, just becoming your greatest version of yourself. So keep expanding, keep becoming greater, and just stay on the path.